I used to work late shifts at a grocery store just outside my town. I didn't own a car back then, so every night around midnight, I had to take the last bus home. The route cut through long empty roads, small neighborhoods, and stretches of forest that barely had any street lights. Most nights were normal. A few tired workers, maybe a college student or two, and the same exhausted bus driver named Carl. But one night in November completely changed the way I look at public transportation. It had been raining hard for hours. The parking lot outside the store was almost flooded. I remember pulling my hoodie tight and running toward the bus stop while thunder shook the sky. The bus was already there waiting. When I stepped inside, something immediately felt strange. There were only 3 other passengers. An older woman asleep near the front. A guy in a gray jacket sitting by the middle window. And another person sitting all the way in the back. At first I thought the person in the back was just wearing dark clothing. But when I walked farther down the aisle, I realized something was off. They were sitting perfectly still. Not moving. Not blinking. Their face was hidden under the hood of a black sweatshirt. I quickly looked away and sat near the middle. The rain hammered against the windows as the bus pulled away. For the first 15 minutes, everything seemed normal. Then the older woman suddenly stood up. Not slowly. She practically jumped awake. She looked terrified. She stared toward the back of the bus for several seconds before quickly walking to the front. I heard her whisper something to Carl. Carl glanced in the mirror. Then his face changed. He looked pale. The woman got off at the next stop even though we were nowhere near her neighborhood. Before leaving, she looked directly at me. I'll never forget what she said. "Don't look at him." Then she stepped into the rain and disappeared. I sat frozen in my seat. The guy in the gray jacket looked nervous too. He kept checking over his shoulder every few seconds. I tried ignoring it. But eventually curiosity got the better of me. I slowly turned around. The hooded passenger was now standing. I swear I never heard footsteps. 1 second they were sitting. The next they were standing in the aisle. Completely still. Facing forward. I immediately looked away. My chest tightened. Something deep inside me was screaming that this wasn't normal. A few minutes later, the guy in the gray jacket pulled the cord and rushed off the bus. Now it was just me, Carl, and the hooded passenger. The bus entered a long road surrounded by trees. No houses. No lights. Just darkness. Then the bus suddenly stopped. Carl cursed under his breath. "The road's flooded," he muttered. The headlights reflected off water covering the street. Carl sighed and grabbed his radio. That's when I heard movement behind me. Slow footsteps. I didn't want to look. But I could hear them getting closer. Step. 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 Every sound echoed through the empty bus. Carl looked up into the mirror. His eyes widened. "Sir, you need to sit down." No response. The footsteps continued. I finally turned around. The hooded passenger was only a few feet away from me now. And for the first time, I saw part of their face. Their skin looked gray. Almost wet. Their mouth hung open unnaturally wide. And their eyes looked completely black. I froze. The passenger tilted their head slowly. Then they spoke. In a weak, cracking voice. "Is this the end of the line?" Carl immediately shouted. "Get off the bus. Right now." The figure didn't move. Then something happened that still gives me chills. Carl whispered my name. "Don't answer him." I stared at Carl. "How do you know my name?" I asked. But Carl ignored me. He kept staring at the figure. Then Carl suddenly reached under his seat and pulled out a small silver cross hanging from a chain. The hooded passenger immediately stepped backward. Not walking. Sliding. Like their feet weren't even touching the floor. The lights inside the bus flickered. The figure turned toward the back again. Then all the windows fogged up instantly. I heard whispering. Dozens of whispers. All around us. Carl slammed the doors open. The figure stood motionless for another few seconds. Then stepped off the bus into the flooded darkness. The second they disappeared, the whispers stopped. The lights returned to normal. And the windows cleared. Neither of us spoke for almost a minute. Finally, Carl started driving again. My hands were shaking. What was that? I asked. Carl kept his eyes on the road. Then he quietly said something I'll never forget. That passenger died on this route 20 years ago. I laughed nervously. I thought he was joking. But Carl looked serious. He drowned when the bus crashed during a storm. Sometimes people still see him. I didn't know what to say. When we reached my stop, I practically ran off the bus. But before the doors closed, Carl called out to me. He usually only appears when someone's supposed to die. The bus drove away. I stood there in silence. Then I noticed something. There was water dripping from my hoodie. Not rainwater. Dark, muddy water. And in the reflection of my phone screen, for just 1 second, I saw the hooded passenger standing directly behind me.